Hey guys, V here for another little walkthrough for you. This time it's going to be for Conquistadorio Part 1. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but hopefully I am. Just as a FYI to anybody looking to pick up this game, Part 2 is not currently available, and I do not see a date regarding when it may or may not be coming out, so just fair warning, you're not getting the full game currently if you pick this up, but it is a pretty nifty little point and click. So even if you don't mind playing what is essentially kind of a demo of the game, I do recommend at least checking it out because it's pretty well done for being incomplete. So part 1 is going to take you roughly an hour or so to do. If you don't want to listen to me yabber on while this goes on, I did create a walkthrough without commentary for those who prefer to go that route, and that of course is linked down in the description below. Outside of that, just as another FYI, I did already get all the achievements on this, so you're not going to see them pop up on my screen. I did try to get the family share thing to work with it, and it just wasn't having it, so I kind of gave up on that. But I do have the timestamps for when they should unlock down below in the description, and they are all story related. So as long as you're following this video, you will get all of the currently 16 available achievements. So from the main menu, let's go ahead and get this started. There is kind of a lengthy cutscene at the very start that you can skip if you want. I'm not going to do it because it just kind of adds to the story, and those who are following along may want to see that if they're not planning on picking up the game. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this going. Okay, so once the game is actually starting and the cutscene is done, the first thing we're going to do is come over here and pick up this little broken ring on the ground. And then we're going to go to these hands sticking out of the back wall, and we're going to interact with them a few times to get a few things. So the first thing we're going to do is touch it. That doesn't do anything. Interact with it again to go ahead and get those shackles. And then interact with the right hand to go ahead and pick that up. And then we're going to go over to this pipe over here, and we're just going to use that ring on the pipe to lift it up, and it's going to make a cannonball fall out and from the other side, basically. So just use the ring on the pipe anywhere. See if it does it. There we go. Okay, use it towards more at the top of that. And then the cannonball is just going to roll right out of the other side. And then go ahead and pick that up once it does. And now we're just going to combine a few items in our inventory. So we're first going to put the cannonball with the shackles, and then the shackles with the hand. And then we're going to use our fancy little contraption here to hit this little grub on the right hand side. And the grub is tossing a coin that we need, so this is basically going to knock him out so that we can get that coin. Alright, and go ahead and pick that up when you can. And then if we interact with this poor guy on the other side over here, he's going to make that little hand symbol saying that he does need money before he can do anything. And luckily we did just pick up a coin. So go ahead and drag the coin to give it to him. and then interact with his hands, and he's going to help you up onto this hill, and then just exit all the way to the top. You may have to click it again to get actually out of this area, so just beware. If you stop, just click it again and you can go from there. And then from here, if it doesn't do it automatically, just make your way through this trench right here, and it's going to bring you all the way to the other side of this very decrepit looking area. And then this is where the actual kind of game is going to start, and it's also where part 1 is going to finish. Okay, so we're gonna do a few things here first. The first thing we're gonna do is interact with this little broken stairway over here on the right hand side, and it's gonna initiate a conversation with this dead gentleman kind of hooked in these hoses here. I'm not exactly sure what those are, but just go ahead and let this play out for a few. Okay, and then interact with the stairs again, and you're actually gonna break that first step down there, which of course is not a good thing. So now we are going to go ahead and fix that. So on this chain on the left side of the door, there's actually a hook that is going to be hanging on the bottom of that. Go ahead and pick that up. And we're going to use that on the grub over on the left hand side by this tree. And we're just going to drag the bug out. And we're going to use him to create a step to fix the stairs. Okay, so once he's all the way over there, go ahead and interact with him again to flip him over. And then on the shield grub thing just behind him is going to be this little post that you can pull out, and it's going to make him fall over, so it creates another step. And then once both of those are down, just go ahead and climb up, and then interact with this guy again and go through a little bit more of a small cutscene. And of course he takes our little flag, which is not very nice. And to actually finish part 1, we do need to go through this door, but of course that would be way too easy to get that right now. And as you can see, if we try to do that, these chains are going to start attacking us. So again, the objective is to get through this door. So to start, we're just going to go to the right once. And here we're going to do a few things. So first we need to fix this cart right here, which is just missing a wheel here on the right hand side. And that wheel is actually behind these planks on the left from where we came in. So interact with the wheel once to actually reveal it. And then interact with it again to attach it to the cart. Okay, and before we can do anything with the cart, we do need these grubs to go ahead and move out of the way. So just click on the rightmost part of the wall and that'll make them disappear. And you'll also see where we're going to be going. So we're actually going to use the cart to get to this area. So go ahead and go back down and interact with the cart. And we're going to push it up the hill so that it falls back down. Okay, and as you can see, it didn't really go anywhere, but it did reveal this barrel right here. So go ahead and interact with the barrel, and we're going to get 2 items out of it. One is going to be a lighter mechanism of sorts, and the other is going to be kind of like an explosive pouch of sorts. So once you have both of those, okay, interact with the front of the cart, and that's going to pop up these little metal bar things right at the front. And then interact with the plank on the back of it. And that of course tears it off. And then interact with the plank again, and we're going to attach it to the front of the cart here. And this creates a bit of a ramp. So we're going to go ahead and push it back up the hill. And this time when it comes down, because that little mini ramp is there, it's going to pick up this log. Just like that. So go ahead and go back down to the front of the cart. And now we're going to create sort of a rocket propulsion system to get us through that wall. So first we're going to grab this rope that is on the back wall right here where this little brick section is. And we're going to combine the rope with the explosives. And we're going to put the explosives inside the little log here. And then we're going to light them on fire and then jump in the cart so that we can go through the wall. Okay, and again, once we go through the wall, we will be in that room that we were just looking at. And we have a few things to pick up here. So the first thing we're going to do is interact with this first cupboard. It's kind of hard to see, but it's right under the first floor here. And go ahead and pick up the music box that's inside. And then interact with the second door. And we're going to grab both of the fuses, the scissors, the T-pipe, and then the trap. So quite a few items in this little cupboard here. There's nothing in the third. The door's just going to break if you interact with it, so you can go ahead and ignore that. And then we're going to come up to the second floor here. And this is kind of like a steam engine of sorts that we need to turn on. So go ahead and pull the lever to open this up. And that's where we're going to be putting some coal and some minerals. And those can be found in these two boxes on the left-hand side. So there's our minerals. And then just next to that is going to be the coal. And then next to that is a bucket, but ignore that for now. And instead just go down the steps, and just by the bottom one is going to be a rope or some tubing, if you will. So go ahead and pick that up. And now go back up to the bucket and pick the bucket up. And then first we're going to grab some coal. So interact with the coal to use the bucket to grab some. And then interact with the little steam engine over here. And then interact with the minerals. And then put those in the little steam engine. And now interact with this little rock console just across the way. And as you can see, this pipe just below us turned on. You can see the steam and air is kind of starting to blow through. So let's go ahead and head on down there. And then just interact with the pipe to bring it up. Interact with this top part to open that. And then we're going to grab one of the fuses. It's going to be this fatty looking one with the two tops. Sorry, the top and the bottom on it. And go ahead and place that down and then turn the knob. And now we're going to go over to this pipe over here. And we're going to use that tubing that we just picked up on the pipe. And it's going to attach to the wooden thing just across the way. So go ahead and move that. And then we're going to go back to the pipe and flip that switch one more time. Here we go. And then interact with the wooden plank, and it's going to open up. And then pull the lever to go through the chute. Okay, so we're going to do a few things here. First thing we're going to do is interact with our little dead friend up here, and we're going to steal his boot because we are going to be needing that a little bit later. And then go ahead and just interact with him again to get a little bit of a cutscene of you explaining, hey, I'm trying to find this stuff. Have you seen it? And he kind of responds-ish in his own little way. But yeah, just let this play out. Okay, and if you want to get another one done a little bit quickly just to get it out of the way, you can come over here to interact with him again, and it's just going to be like, hey, I'm looking for this coffin, have you seen this, etc., etc. Okay, so once that's done, go ahead and interact with the rope that is kind of just below our dead guy, just to the left of him. And we're going to try tying them, but it's not going to work because we're missing a piece. So we need that little T pipe that we just picked up. So go ahead and drag that over to the ropes here. And that's going to allow us to connect all 3 of these wire rope tubings of sorts. So this allows the air to go through all of these little pipes here that turns on all of these chutes. So the first one we're going to go through is the lower one here, not the one directly below the dead guy, but the one just below that. And then go ahead and pull the lever to go through. All right, and once you're on the other side, just go ahead and go to the other side of the red tubing here. And as you can see, there's some steam that is coming out. We need to change this so that it's not leaking, if you will. So go ahead and interact with the tube. And then we're just gonna switch out the fuses or the tubings, whatever we're calling them, with the one that we have in our inventory. So that's gonna cause this red pipe to start shaking, and that's gonna cause this little spear thing to drop down. So go ahead and grab that, and we're gonna grab this grub out of the water, and then interact with him again to actually pull him out of the water. And then we're going to use the scissors on him, and while this is a little morbid, this is kind of prepping for an advanced room that we're going to be doing here in just a few, but we're going to be cutting off one of his eyeballs. And you know, he has plenty to spare, so I think he can give us one so that we can beat this little part here. Okay, so once you have that, go ahead and interact with this red pipe again. And then we're just going to switch out the fuses again. So the one that was previously in there is now in your inventory. Just go ahead and switch them out. And now we're going to go back through the chute. So interact with the left side of the pipe to go into the little slot here. And then pull the lever to go through. And now we're going to go into the chute that is directly below our little dead friend. So go ahead and interact with the little hole right there, and then pull the lever. And then we're going to go through the chute on the right-hand side, and then pull the lever, of course, again. And we are going to pop out at the top here, but we can't really do anything here, so he's going to go back down. Just pull the lever one more time. And now we're going to go through the chute just next to it on the top side, pretty much where these 3 are. So the top chute, pull the lever. And on the right side, we're going to go through the top chute first, and we're actually going to break it, but we're going to fix it really quick so we don't have to do this later on. So go ahead and pull the lever, and as you can see, this little tubing is going to pop. So go ahead and interact with the wire, the one that's kind of like blowing with the steam. And then just below it on the left-hand side, you can interact with this lower part to disconnect that. And then interact with the top part again to actually pull the tubing. And then interact with it a couple of more times to attach it to the chutes so that we can reconnect everything. Okay, so once you see the steam coming out of this little part right here, you'll know that they're turned back on. So go ahead and interact with the top one again, and we're just going to go down this chute. So pull the lever once you're in. And then first thing we're going to do in this room is we're going to come down to this grub here on the bottom right-hand side that is using this little blowgun to scare the smaller grub, which is kind of mean, but we do need that little blowgun that he's using. So use the music box on the big grub, and we're just going to move this little skeleton's arms so that he's making kind of like a turning left symbol. If you're a biker, you'll know what it means, but the right arm should be straight, and then the left arm will be facing up. And this will distract him enough to drop that little blowgun so we can pick it up. So go ahead and do so. And then we're gonna go over to this grub that's peeking out of the wall just in front of this little device here. And we're gonna scare him so that he goes back inside his little hole. And then we're gonna pick up the device before he comes back out. And then from here, oh, sorry, we're also gonna pick up a rock that he chucks at our face. Okay, so from here, we're gonna interact with this little frame on the left-hand side. And then go ahead and pick up the wrench that's inside of that. And then the one just below it, go ahead and pick up the wire. And then the one just to the left of that, we're gonna go ahead and pick up the, it's almost like an oil, like a flammable liquid of sorts. So once you have that, we're gonna go over to this little mechanical door right here. We gotta wait for the grub to scan. So it let the grub in, but when we try to scan ourselves, there we go. Okay. It's not going to let us in. It's going to be like, no, access denied, because of course we are not a grub. But we do have a grub eye. So go ahead and use the eye on that door and it's going to scan it, and this is going to open up so that we can get through. So once it's open, go ahead and go through the tunnel. All right, and the first area we're gonna go through is in the middle right here, these little stairs that you can kind of barely see, but again, it's just right about in the middle of the tunnel. So go through that first. And just as a heads up, there are quite a few things that we can do right here, but we don't need them in part 1. So we're gonna ignore pretty much mostly this guy and this door. We don't really need them right now. So if you want to just get a conversation out of the way, go ahead and interact with the dead guy that's hanging in the cage just to get it done, so you don't need to worry about accidentally clicking on him later. Okay, so once that's done, we're going to interact with this coffin that is leaning against this, I guess it's a house, this building right over here on the left-hand side. And we're just going to pick up the gun that's inside the coffin. And then interact with the coffin that is sitting in the water. And we're going to use that blowgun that we got from the grub earlier to push ourselves through the water. So use the blowgun on the coffin, and as you can see, we're just going to start zooming through the water here. And there's going to be a second scene of us just going through the water until we reach our destination. And there is going to be a little bit of a cutscene that plays out of him just reminiscing that this is where we landed, this is what happened to us, and basically a little bit of backstory of the game here. So just interact anywhere and it'll start the little memory of, yeah, them just landing here, basically. Okay, so once that's done, we are going to interact with this little shell here that's next to this glass tube. And we're just going to pick up some cannonballs that are inside. I don't actually know if they're cannonballs, but the bullets inside, if you will. And we're gonna fix our gun here. So go ahead and close that and go up to your inventory. And we're gonna use the oil on the gun and then the bullets on the gun. And then with the completed gun, go ahead and use that on the glass casing down here on the bottom. And that's gonna break it, and the little antenna that's inside is just gonna go flying, so make sure you pick that up before we go forward. And there it is on the ground. You see it's blinking red, so it's kind of hard to miss. So go ahead and pick that up. And basically what we need to do here, the antenna was too low and we need to raise it up so this guy can see it. So to do so, we're gonna grab that boot that we stole off the skeleton earlier and fill it up with water. And then we're gonna grab that boot and place it where the antenna just was. And we're automatically gonna put the antenna in the boot so that it's floating in the water. And there we go, those two are now reading each other. So go ahead and go over to the blinking red light on the wall back here. And then just interact with it, and you're gonna get a tiny little card that looks like a razor blade. So go ahead and pick that up. And this is all we can do here. So interact with the coffin in the water, and we're gonna go back to where we previously were. So use the little air gun thing on the coffin. And again, this is just gonna push us through the water. Alright, and once we are on the other side, we are going to exit this small area with the skeleton hanging in the cage and then the little house thing. And the exit is just to the right of the house, so this little alleyway right here. And then once we're out, we're going to go all the way to the right. And for this one, we do need to get by these two grubs, but they're going to be fighting, so they're not going to let us by super easily. So we're going to use the little baby to distract them so that we can get by. So first we're going to interact with the coffin just at the top of the stairs over on the left-hand side. And then once we hop in and close the door, the baby grub is just going to try to attack us, but it's not going to be able to because of course we are inside of a coffin. But that does tell us that the baby can reach this area. So to catch it, we are going to put the trap inside the coffin. And then we're going to go down to where the baby is just to scare him. And he's going to run inside the coffin, and then he's going to land in that trap. So once he does, go back up to the coffin and then close it. And now we're going to throw it off a cliff because, yeah, we are very, very nice pirate dead people over here. So once that happens, these two grubs that are fighting are going to get distracted because, of course, a baby just flew off the cliff. That is a very distracting thing, I would imagine. So while they're looking over there, go ahead and make your way down the stairs on the bottom left over here. And then once you get all the way down to the bottom of the stairs, we're just going to interact with this little console thing on the far right side. You are going to stop and look inside this tunnel here, but just ignore it for now. We're going to turn that on in just a second. So again, interact with the console on the right. And then push the button on the bottom. It is kind of hard to see, but there is a button down here. And then we're going to use that card that looked like the razor blade that we picked up a little bit earlier and put it into the slot here. And this is going to turn the console on, which is going to cause a bunch of water to shoot out of this tunnel here. So let's wait for it to turn on. Go and then interact with the very end of the tunnel where the water is actually shooting out. And we're going to try climbing over it, and of course we're going to fail and go through the water. And this is going to put us on the opposite side of where that UFO was that we just saw, and it's going to go through the same little short, this is where we landed, this is what happened to us. It's not going to be nearly as long though, so just wait for this to play out. Okay, and once that's done, we're gonna go ahead and go back to where we just were. So click on the far right side, and we're just basically gonna go around where that water spout was. And then we're gonna head back upstairs. And just as an FYI, the water came from up above and we pushed it down. So once we get back to where we threw the baby grub off the cliff, the water is gonna be a little lower. And because of that, we can now see this chest in the water down here. So go ahead and interact with the chest to open it up. And then pick up the wire inside. You are going to have to click on it a couple of times to actually do so, but once it's in your inventory, we can exit out of this area and we don't need to come back here. We are done for now. At least for part 1, we are done. So go ahead and exit out on the right side over here. And then once you're on the other side, we're going to go back up the stairs here in the middle of this little shipwreck tunnel thing that we're inside right now. And this is going to take us back to the skeleton that is hanging in the cage. So we're going to go back across the water. So interact with the coffin in the water and then use that little blowgun to push yourself or propel yourself across the water. And again, because we raised the water levels, they are also going to be raised on this side of the UFO as well, and it's going to open up a new area for us to get to. Okay, and as you can see, the water is higher. We can no longer see the shore right here. And then once the boat stops, we're just going to interact with this tunnel up here so we can climb on up. Okay, so once you enter the room, go ahead and interact with this little blue tablet that's up in the air here, and we're gonna bring it down and then not quite pick it up, but just kind of play around with it a little bit. So once it starts to hang, interact with it again to drop it down, and that of course is gonna break it, but interact with it again to actually pick it up, and we're just gonna go ahead and toss it across the room here. And now we're just gonna pick up a couple of things. So on the back wall here, kind of in the center, is this little mechanical leg that keeps kind of popping out and then popping back in. Go ahead and pick that up. And then just under where we picked up that tablet is gonna be this little spore here. It's kind of like a satellite, if you will, like a little mini one. We can't do anything with it with our bare hands, but go ahead and use the wrench on it to take the top off. And we're just gonna move that over to the little spore satellite here on the right-hand side. So grab it from your inventory and then put it on. But as you make your way over there, we are gonna step in some goo that we're gonna pick up. So that'll be added to your inventory as well. And now once again, try to put that little satellite on the spore on the right-hand side. And that is going to cause a console to come over on the right-hand side of the room. So go ahead and interact with that. And then pick up the tablet inside, as well as this little broken mirror device of sort. and then go ahead and exit out of that. And then we're gonna go to this little console here with this floating orb just above it. So go ahead and interact with that, and we're gonna push this down twice so that the orb comes down onto the ground. And then we're gonna interact with this device on the floor in the middle of the room, and we're actually gonna put that on top of the orb here. And then interact with that small console one more time, and we're gonna try to push it and see that we can't, but we did just pick up a mechanical leg that will move it for us. To attach that to the little console here, we're gonna use that sticky goo we just picked up on the mechanical leg, and then put the leg on the console. There we go, and that's gonna move all the way over to the left side of the room. And before we do anything with that again, we are going to use the tablet that we just picked up on the big brain looking thing at the top of the room. And the puzzle here is pretty simple. There's going to be 4 little pulse heartbeats here, each showing on this little diagram right at the top middle part of the tablet. And we need to push the buttons on the right hand side so that all 4 blink at the same time. So you just kind of want to try timing these. Preferably so they're all like the same pulse would be the most ideal part of this. Okay, so we got the top 2 and then the bottom 1, so we just need to move the 3rd one. It may take a little while to actually get it, but once you do, it won't turn off completely, but it'll turn off enough so that we can go up to it. So interact with the small console that had the floating orb on it, and we're gonna move that orb back down to the ground, and then go ahead and stand on it. And now you need to hit the left and right so that you stay kind of centered, so you float up to the top. If you let it go down to like one side or the other, you can kind of just use one button instead of trying to jimmy both of them. But once you have that wire attached, you are going to come back down. From here, we are done with this room for now. We can't do anything with the left console just yet, so go back through the sewer to exit out. And use the little blowgun thing to go back through the water. And then once you're on the other side, go ahead and exit out of this area through the little alley to the right of the building. And then we're going to exit to the left. And then we're going to go through the chute on the right-hand side of the room. So the one that we actually came into this room through. So again, interact with the little hatch and then pull the lever to send the chute through the pipe. And then we're going to go through the chute just below it. So the one that we fixed earlier but didn't go through just yet. Go ahead and go inside and then pull the lever. And first thing we're going to do here is interact with the console on the left side of the room. And we're going to use those wires that we picked up earlier, the ones that had the lights and then were blinking. It took us a few attempts to actually pick it up. And we're going to interact with them until they do the yellow and blue lines going through the little circulation here, if you will. And you can see little blue dots appeared, little blue lines appeared just below it. This is how we want to do the buttons below this little port here. So it's going to go down, up, down, up, down, up, 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 and down. So down, 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 and then 1, 2, 3, and down. And go ahead and pick up that fuse that's inside, and then exit out of this console. And now we're going to interact with the small tablet just to the right of the console. And then on the far side of the room, we are going to interact with this open hatch here where the wire is connected here. And we're just going to return power to this room here, essentially, is what's going to happen. Okay, and then once you have that, interact with the button at the center, just down on the bottom here. And this is going to fill this little port here with, it looks like water, but it's more of like electricity of sort. And then go ahead and interact with the tentacle hanging down in the middle of the room. And that's going to cause our little friend here to come down, but he's not going to stay powered on just yet. We are going to do a couple more things with him to ensure that that happens. Okay, and as you can see, power did turn off once this guy came down, but that's okay. We can turn it back on pretty quickly. So just interact with the wires that were just below the little hatch here, and we're just going to plug it back in so that we can turn power back on. Okay, and then once it's plugged in, go ahead and interact with the hatch. There we go, we got our power turned back on. So go ahead and interact with the bottom button again to put that electrical field back in the middle here. And now we're gonna push this little generator onto the electrical field, and it's just gonna push it closer to our little friend here in the middle. And we're gonna interact with the hoses to hook it up to the center here. So go ahead and throw those out. And we do need to open them up. So go ahead and climb back up this little piece of wood here and open up the door. And when you do that, go ahead and use the wire that we picked up earlier on the door, and it's just gonna hook up another little wire to his head. And then interact with the hose to hook that up to his little spout here. And then interact with the generator to try and turn it on, and you'll see that we can't. We don't have everything we need here. And we need this grub here on the left side to do this. So again, once you interact with him, you can't do anything. And then interact with the grub on the right to try and pick him up, and you won't be able to. So this is where we're going to use our little broken mirror thing. So go ahead and interact with that with the grub. And once again, we are killing innocent creatures here, but there's so many of them, and they killed me first, so it's only fair. So once he has a hole inside of him, go ahead and interact with him to drag him towards the generator, and then interact with him again to put him on top. And there we have another little card on the ground here that we can pick up. So go ahead and grab that. And now we're done with this room. So you can leave this open or close it. It's completely up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and close this little hatch here. And then go back into the chute and then pull the lever. And then we're going to go back across the water. So go through the chute just above here and then pull the lever. And then go through the tunnel. And then in the little shipwreck tunnel here, go through the center little stairway. And then back into the coffin in the water, and then once again use a little blowgun thing to propel yourself across the water. And then once you reach the other side, go ahead and go up into the room. And if you remember earlier, we couldn't interact with that console on the left side of the room just yet, but now we can, that we have that card. So go ahead and interact with the left console. And then we're going to use that card that we just picked up in the slot on the bottom. There we go. Nope. Maybe. Okay, there we go. To pick up, there we go, and then put it in the slot on the bottom of the console, and that's going to give us this little, it kind of looks like a mallet, but it's more of like a key device, if you will. And this will let us finish up part 1 here. So go ahead and go back through the sewer, and we're going to go back across the water. So once you're in your boat, go ahead and use that blowgun to propel yourself across the water. And then once you're on the other side, go ahead and exit this area through the right side of the building. And then go through the left side. And this time we're going to go through the chute on the left. So up this ladder here, there is another chute here. Go ahead and go inside of it and press the lever, and we're just going to take a shortcut back to kind of near the beginning of the game where those double doors were. So again, once you're over there, interact with the chute again to actually go inside, and then pull the lever. And now we're going to use that mechanical device that we picked up earlier to lower this little piece of wood down to where this hole is. So go ahead and grab that device, and we're going to use it on this little spike down here to kind of magnify ourselves down. And again, this is going to allow us to reach this hole right here, and this is going to take us back to where we fixed that cart and made the rocket propulsion system to actually break through the wall. And then exit through the left side. So past the barrel and then past the little flaming stuff that we use to actually light the rockets, if we're going to call them rockets, the explosions, if you will. And now we're going to use that key device to deactivate the gargoyle fish face thing that keeps attacking us with chains. So go ahead and use that on the face. And we're just going to take the key out that actually activates it so that we can get by. There we go, we got that. And now this won't turn on when we get near it, so we can go through the door. And again, this will finish up part 1. All right, and there we go. That will finish up part 1. Part 2 is not currently available. It's not even done in development, I don't think, at the time of posting this. So I don't have a date for when that part will actually be available. So as of right now, we can't really finish the game. But for what little bit we did play, hopefully you guys did enjoy it. I personally found it as kind of a nifty little point and click game. And yeah, that'll about finish it up. So as always, if you guys found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.